In a world obsessed with rankings, two men dare to chisel greatness out of metaphorical granite, one wildly subjective opinion at a time. This show, every episode, we select four icons from a single topic and immortalize them in our own personal halls of fame. Subjective? Absolutely. Debatable? Always. Set in stone? Until next week, welcome to the Mount Rushmore show, where your top four says everything about you. I'm Mike Mintz. He's Joe Mintz, and it is the Thanksgiving weekend. Thanksgiving's in the books. Everybody ate all their food, Joe. Now it's time to sit back, digest, watch some football, and maybe play some video games.
Yeah, we're officially on the other side of Thanksgiving weekend. And if you listened to last week's episode, Mike and I spent a little too much time breaking down our Thanksgiving plates like they were film study, but that's what we do here. Turkey versus, or stuffing versus mashed potatoes, like Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. We had the side draft, the dessert temptations. I think we both probably walked away with full stomachs and very fuller opinions, but my plate wasn't much of a highlight reel as my Mount Rushmore was. But Mike, tell me about your Thanksgiving. What did you have?
Well, I had pretty much everything I had except for the green bean casserole. We switched that out for the Brussels sprouts. And I have to tell you, that was the right choice, Joe. So I may have, I might have to re-go carve my mountain there and take out the green bean casserole and throw in the Brussels sprouts. The stovetop stuffing was a hit. I even had both pumpkin pie and apple pie. We went up to the neighbor's place. They had apple pie, and I was like, oh yeah, man, I might as well. I indulged. I had a great Thanksgiving weekend for sure. How about you?
Mike, I knew it. I told you last week when you chose green bean casserole and you chose mashed potatoes, I said you're wrong. You're incorrect. If I put crispy Brussels sprouts and stuffing in front of you, they're swapping the two. You went in with the mindset of I'm going to presume these aren't at their best. When they're at their best, there's nothing beating them. Mike, you're set in stone having to stare at this green bean casserole and mashed potatoes when there's a whole other world out there. Luckily, you got to enjoy it, but didn't make the Rushmore, unfortunately.
No,
Hindsight.
it didn't. Yeah, hindsight. Well, maybe next year. I guess we'll see. We'll see where we end up at, Joe. But yeah, we were kind of talking before we started here, and it's just when you host your own Thanksgiving, it's a lot of work. You got to cook it. First of all, I had to get up at like 5 in the morning to start the turkey, and then dishes. It was a lot, but it was really awesome. So.
Yeah, when we talked about the turkey, I mean, anything you have to spend 8 hours making taste decent is probably not a very good tasting meat. I could throw a lamb in the oven for an hour and it will taste 10x better than an 8 hour turkey. But this is the conundrum we live in. Unfortunately, this utopia of Thanksgiving doesn't exist yet. But I was fortunate that I had a smoked turkey and it was great. I had not myself, but someone made Brussels sprouts and they added a
Ooh,
key subtle ingredient that I appreciate, and
ooh,
that was honey for a little bit of
inter
sweetness.
interesting.
Um, and the person may or may not be listening to this that made the stuffing. I have a bone to pick with this person.
Oh,
I did not have stuffing this year because of this person. And they decided to go rogue. We talked about this,
oh
Mike.
no, you
Going
can't.
rogue can go one of two ways, my friend. And he added six different types of cheese to stuffing. That is not an ingredient in stuffing, and I'm not taking that chance on my stomach and my gut. I can't handle that much dairy, Mike. I wanted to enjoy it, and I just couldn't. He poisoned it for me. He put a big hoop of sour cream on the burrito, and I'm not touching that thing.
Well, when you said that they did something weird with the stuffing, my mind went to a bunch of different places, and six different types of cheese wasn't one of them. Who would
Yeah.
do such a such a? I
His
kind of want to try it.
explanation
So,
was I made the stuffing and then I opened my fridge and I saw things in the fridge and I just threw them in there. He did the kitchen sink thing.
oh,
And I'm sure it tasted fine, but I'm not taking that risk, my friend. Not that it doesn't mix for me.
not gonna find
And it
out. I
feels
don't blame you.
wasteful. Can you really taste that much cheese in stuffing? Come on, dude.
I've never considered cheese and stuffing before.
If you're
So,
listening to this, you know who you are, and we can talk about this later offline.
maybe he's a hero. Maybe that's gonna be the next thing. You never know. So.
It could be. I mean, he is. You know what? I'm not going to say more because that's a dead giveaway who he is. But he knows what he's doing in the kitchen. I just think it was a unnecessary gamble.
That's a big gamble. Speaking of gambling, we did do some Black Friday shopping, Joe, and it was a little bit risky out there in Montana on those streets. We had like a record number of car crashes. The places were packed. Did you get out and do any Black Friday shopping?
I did. I mean, it feels like we got Thanksgiving and then just like clockwork, put the fork down, boom, Black Friday hits. And honestly, it doesn't feel the same anymore. One, Amazon's been running a Black Friday special on everything for like 2 weeks. So what difference does the day actually make? It's kind of become the Black Friday month. And I woke up Friday morning to email chaos. Every store I've ever browsed on or visited um, gave me ever succumbed to my email or even just thought about at some point over the last decade in my brain. They hunted me down like a bounty. Amazon, Best Buys, Dick's, random websites I haven't clicked on since 2014, Mike. They all promise the greatest deal of all time as if I just bought something right now. Um, it was like opening my inbox and getting hit with Black Friday blitz defense. It drove me nuts. I'm still deleting some of these emails. And it made me think about how Black Friday used to be. Remember when it required strategy, sacrifice, maybe even body armor, depending on where you were going? People were camping out overnight. They were shivering in line in November to save $100 or whenever the new gadget was supposed to change their life with. Then the doors opened and it was total Hunger Games in the electronics aisle. There was carts ramming into each other, strangers rustling over the last toaster oven like it was an infinity gauntlet. Now we've gone full evolution. E-commerce has taken over Black Friday. From just the Mortal Kombat to just add to cart. There's no pushing, there's no waiting, there's no frostbite. Just click, pay, track your passion or track your package. Efficiency is at its peak now. Having said that, I did go to the Annapolis Mall,
Oh, good.
uh, and it was packed. Not chaotic packed like the old days, more
Mhm.
like buzzing packed. It was very festive, energetic. There was carols in the air, shoppers loaded with bags. It actually gave me a lot of nostalgic spark I didn't know I missed walking through there. And I got some good Christmas gift ideas that I then bought there. Walked around like I was 12 again. Found myself doing something I haven't done in years, and that was walking into a GameStop.
Ooh.
Instant time machine. I grew up on PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, the Wii. Those aisles at GameStop were my kingdom. I would spend hours comparing games, looking at cover art, begging my parents to get just one more title if I promised to take out the trash for the rest of my life. But now I walk in and I'm confused like a dad trying TikTok, man. Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox X Series W, Xbox Plus minus double exclamation mark, Nintendo Switches, 1, 2, and X. I'm in over my skis now, trying to pick a game for my nephew. I realized quickly my era I grew up in is now retro.
Mhm.
And that is what sparked today's episode. We are going to give our Mount Rushmore of video games, Mike. Today we're going back to the games we grew up on, the four that shaped us, the four that ate all of our free time, ruined our sleep schedules, and maybe even, at least in my case, caused a few controller slams. But before we carve into the granite masterpiece that this is, do you still play video games, Mike?
I do, but it is different now. And it's not really because of, the wife, kids, and full-time job or anything like that. But my brother and I
All
both
valid
saw
reasons not to.
my
Not because
brother
of
and
them. I could kill
no,
countless hours and balance that.
yeah, you got to balance it. No, it's not that, but my brother and I both suffer from something that's pretty rare called simulation sickness. And
Whoa.
we can't play first person video games make us like anything that's like a faux 3D makes us physically ill, like throw up, sick. The funny thing is we didn't know it. Like, growing up, you didn't really know it on all the 2D games. it wasn't until, funny enough, until Doom came out and everybody wanted to play Doom and I wanted to play Doom and I played Doom and I was very sick. I thought I had a stomach bug. A week later, I come back to my friend's house to play Doom again and I'm sick again and I couldn't understand it. And it turned out it was this simulation sickness. And so any first-person shooter is right out. Eventually, I realized that it just wasn't worth it because I'd get really physically like projectile vomiting sick. It was bad. And now it's like probably I might get 2 to 3 minutes before I get sick, even watching these games. So Minecraft, I can't do that. A lot of these types of newer video games are kind of right out, which kind of changed my life in a way because Joe, the description of the ruin your sleep habits and stuff was very much where I was in the late 90s. And all of a sudden, a lot of video games just kind of passed me by. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. But that doesn't mean I don't have a love for video games, even new video games. I just got to be careful which ones I choose.
What about with your son? Does he play video games often? Do you play with him at all?
I
You,
do, and
he's keep up to date?
I do, and he doesn't have the sickness, which I find really odd. So it must be some sort of weird, I don't know, genetic trait or something that didn't get passed down. We do play, and he's very competitive. And then, of course, I don't know where most dads are. I think there's a split between the dads that like, oh, I'll play hard, but I'll let you win kind of thing. I am not in that boat. I am here, if we're playing Street Fighter, I'm knocking you out, dude. I don't care if you're, 8, 9, 10, 11. If you want a shot at the title, you're gonna have to take it, man. To be the man, you got to beat the man. So, and he does. We're pretty competitive now. So,
Yeah, I do have memories playing with my dad occasionally, but it was kind of unfair. Like
sure.
he's like, which button's X when playing Madden or something. It's so, and now I'm that guy. And when I touch a Nintendo Switch controller, I'm asking my nephew, how do you move left or right, or how do I get to I'm that guy now. It's funny. I would laugh at that guy, but you got to stay in touch with these things, man. These kids got their finger on the pulse, but we once did, but we lost it.
Well, it's a different world too. Is like when I was growing up, it was all about very simple. You had a couple of buttons. I think the Super Nintendo came out and that had 6 buttons. That was mind blowing. Like, oh my gosh, we went from 2 buttons to 6. But anymore, even the evolution of gaming, it's not like when I was a kid, it was from the beginning to the end, and you had a clear goal in mind. And now there's games coming out that apparently the entire purpose of the game is to just waste your time as entertainingly as possible, I suppose.
And now we have such a wide array
Mhm.
between our phones for gaming. PC gaming is kind of fallen off into the phone era. Like I used to think of those early days on PC gamers. They were kind of more traditional video game nerds, the holistic types about playing individual games on journeys and missions. It
Hmm.
was less about the social endeavor of it. Everyone has like a different flavor, but we all loved it. I mean, it provides the most insane dopamine or endorphin rush. I don't know what it is, but our brains are wired to this, which is why I had to eliminate it from my life at a certain age. As I would be in my early 20s, come home from a long day at work, and could find myself spending 4 hours playing dynasty mode of some college football game, just wasting time and like it's that. So I had to remove it like a junkie had to remove drugs from their house, is what I felt like.
Do you have like a 5-year token or anything, Joe, for how long you haven't played?
Oh man, there should be a group of us that get together. The only I have a rule about it though. It's kind of like when people may make rules with alcohol, right? Is hey, I just
Hmm.
can't have it in the house. If I gotta go or junk food. If I gotta go out of the house, then I really want it, right?
Right.
That's how I am with video games now. My nephew has a console. I have a couple friends with a console, so I can play with them.
Hmm.
In fact, just last weekend, there is a very cool bar arcade in Annapolis that has all old school pinball,
Oh, nice.
Guitar Hero, um, Madden, Mario games, all that stuff they could go to. But if I have it in the house, man, it's gonna be a time killer.
Well, for sure. Well, we should kill sometimes. Two non-gamers, admittedly at the moment, are going to do an episode on our top four, let's call it retro video games. How's that sound, Joe?
Mike, before we get in, what are the consoles we're playing with back in your era?
So I started on the original Nintendo. There was no
Okay,
Super
Nintendo 64.
Nintendo. And then I went all the way through PlayStation, Xbox, all the way through the modern day games now. But where I spent a lot of my time and energy and where I wanted to go the most was something that's kind of gone the way of the buffalo, and that's the arcade. I would love that was my jam. If I got a chance to go to an arcade, spend $5 in a couple of hours at the coin ops. That was my bread and butter. So yeah.
Well, Mike, how about you kick it off?
Okay.
I don't know if we'll share any because we're about a decade removed, and in video game years, that is a lifetime.
That is, and I'm going to start with one I think we are going to share, and I think a lot of people would put this on their list. And since we always talk a lot about sports and entertainment here, for me, it's going to be Madden. John Madden football, Madden NFL. I don't care what you want to call it. I'm giving the entire series my first pick here on my George Washington and my Rushmore picks. If I had to go to a specific game, Joe, I would have to go with Madden 2004, not because it's the most graphically beautiful, but possibly because it has the most biggest cheat code player of all time in Michael Vick. The guy was unstoppable. He had ratings that were better than all but two running backs for speed in the game. He had a 96 agility. He was literally a breaker. He broke the game. There was actually the Michael Vick rule back when I was a kid that you weren't, or a young adult, where you weren't allowed to play as the Falcons. Or if you were, you had to put in the backup quarterback because it was essentially a glitch in the simulation. He broke the game. He was so good. But it's just one of those funny things that made the game kind of stand out, especially throughout the years. And if you don't know about Madden NFL football, it's a simulation of real football, and that's really where they've always been at. John Madden himself was a big proponent of it in the early days. It's a lot of fun, but I would say that the inclusion of Michael Vick and specifically in the 2004 game really kind of put that game on a whole new level. Um, there's the playbooks. I don't even know, man. I could spend an entire episode talking about Madden and all of the games since the early days all the way through. Still today. I mean, they still have a Madden coming out every year, and it's still one of those must-buys.
Mike, we're gonna share this one. This is the probably the hardest Mount Rushmore I've ever done as a guy, and I'm saying as a guy that hasn't gamed in so long because I had so much time on different video games. The only one that was unanimous in this decision, where it required no thought or no elimination, was Madden. This is the football game that raised not only a generation, but multiple generations. Still today. It started in 1988, and there's still Maddens, with the latest being, I think, Pat Mahomes on the cover when I saw at GameStop. And it was John Madden insisting it must be real 11 on 11 football or wouldn't get made. Because it was very hard to make a very dynamic game. In fact, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime about how Madden formed and got started. It's kind of interesting if you're a fan of Madden. And since then, it's evolved so much between franchise mode, create a player, online versions, Ultimate Team. It became the sports gaming standard. Um, and it's funny you said Madden '04. That's the Madden that really got me obsessed with Madden as well. I just remember running wild with Michael Vick like a human glitch. I remember all the trash talking with friends, whether it be online or at the house. I let entire weekends vanish just to franchise mode, Mike. Madden wasn't just a game, it was a lifestyle. And when I've played the newest Madden with Grayson and I get tremors. I'm like, I might buy an Xbox if I play any more of this. I might
That's
go
what
to the drugstore and get drugs.
See, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid I'd get the new one and it'd be like taking a hit like a former junkie getting that first hit in a long time, and all of a sudden I'm buying a $500, $600 console and a $60, $70 game in order to play. But man, you know what? It'd be worth it because that's the thing is Madden, how many hours did I spend playing with other people? Sometimes online, just with my friends, especially before online modes. And just, yeah, the trash talk, the play. The Madden curse is one other thing I wanted to bring up. How many athletes find themselves on the cover of Madden and either get injured or go steadily downhill afterwards? It's a perceived jinx. That's kind of a bit of an interesting coincidence in history. It's a fun one. So,
Yeah, and I think the only way I could do this Mount Rushmore, and this is kind of a spoiler of the next ones, is I had to put in buckets. So for reveal, I'm like, I can only do one sports game because I could easily make a Mount Rushmore of just sports games that I grew up playing. So Madden is the one, and I'm removing, and the other ones that I grew up with were NBA 2K, FIFA, NHL, but those aren't going to make the list, folks. This is just one sports game for one head. We got to diversify here.
we have to. Interestingly enough, I put my own criteria on, which was more about consoles than genres. But Joe, I'm curious what your number two pick would be. Did you want to go ahead and jump in on this one?
Yeah, this one might be a little after your time, Mike, and a little controversial for some. I'm sure many kids still haven't played this. Hopefully, Cooper is not. Rated M for mature. And in full honesty, I played this game much younger than I probably should have, and a lot of it. And that is Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, come on. Everybody's got GTA on there, so.
The craziest part, GTA actually started as a glitch. Developers at DMA Design, which later became Rockstar that we know now, were building a cop driving game when they discovered players enjoyed breaking the rules way more than following them. So they flipped it. So instead of being the police, you became the criminal. It goes all the way back to 1997 as a top down, open world crime sandbox. And I remember when it came out, people were shocked between the violence and the freedom. You were a human in the world that could do anything. And then the crime-based gameplay, the incredible story mode, people were hooked. I was hooked. It became the first mainstream game to spark a national conversation about video game ethics. Parents hated it, kids loved it, sales went up, and every protest online made it even more popular. I was into mostly GTA 4 and GTA 5. I played the most on. But I still played GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas. But honestly, Vice City and San Andreas came in '02 and '04, and that was really young for me to be playing. So GTA 4 and 5 was kind of the pocket. And it still prints money today like its own national economy. There's been so much buzz about the latest one that keeps getting the next date pushed. I think we're talking about a year from now,
Mhm.
GTA 6, which has been talked about for years. Um, but nothing matched the thrill of causing chaos in the streets, launching cars off of bridges, running from five-star police chases like we were in an action film. It wasn't just a game, it was freedom. It was mayhem. It was legendary childhood storytelling without a script. And it wasn't the most social game, though. So Madden, you play with your friends, you go one on one, you compete. This was a game when you had friends over, you were wishing the other person died so they could hand over the controller. It was not a multiplayer game, but this was a game you played alone and did some not ethically moral things that no one could judge you for, and with the safety of the comfort of your own home.
I think Grand Theft Auto, especially I'd played one and two, I didn't care for them, but when three came out, it changed the game. And it changed the game. You talked about the sandbox, that open world element. Before games never really did that. You had a very strict plot or rules that you were following. And while GTA 3 had those quests and everything like that, none of my friends really ever played that game that way. It was just wandering around and exploring and doing all of the things you weren't supposed to do in real life. It was living almost vicariously and in a weird way, like a demonic wish fulfillment kind of thing. I can get away with anything and I can kind of explore this world. Joe, I guess maybe age shows our difference. I specifically had GTA on here, but I had Vice City. And the reason I went with Vice City is because the 80s, man. The 80s are forever in my mind. It's still one of those great time periods. Stranger Things 5 just came out on the season, first part of the season, and that's set in the 80s. Like we have a love affair with this decade. And Vice City, which is kind of this Miami Vice slash Scarface kind of spin-off situation is one of the my all-time favorites, and I spent hours upon hours just exploring that world and doing all of the things I knew my parents would not approve of.
So you have Grand Theft Auto on your list.
Of course, yeah, Vice City
Okay.
specifically, yes, of
Because when
course.
I'm
So,
making this, I'm talking about the franchise game. Like I'm not picking the year of Madden or the year of Grand Theft Auto. To me, it's just Madden and Grand Theft Auto is a franchise you're picking. Because at the end of the day, the newest iteration was more or less the same with different maps and storylines, right?
yep,
So we share the first two. So
we
that to
do.
and full confession, that is my shooter game. So I know it's kind of you have debate of is it really a shooter game, even though you're shooting stuff, whereas traditionally you're looking at Halo, Call of Duty, uh, uh, what is it not
Like a Battlefield or
Battlefield? There's another one,
Fortnite or
the Gear game. It starts with
oh,
Gear.
Gears of War.
Gears of War. I didn't play that one, but I know some people have affinity for that. So those will not be on my list. Not because I did not play them. I played plenty of Call of Duty and Halo with friends. But the reason it doesn't make the list is I was bad at it. I was not good. I did not like playing those games with other people because I got exposed. Whereas Grand Theft Auto, it's easy to just run your own race.
Perfect. Well, Joe, we're not going to share our my third and fourth. There's no way, I think, because I'm going to show my age a little bit. And if you're eliminating picks based on genre, I'm kind of going consoles, and this is my arcade pick. And if I was going to pick a game, they released on consoles, but to me, the definitive version of this was on the arcade, and that has to be NBA Jam. I'm talking 1993. I'm talking fundamentals. Physics, forget those things. Let's talk the antithesis of Madden. We're not a simulation here. We're straight up entertainment, arcade, unbelievable, giant bobbleheads, 2-on-2, licensed basketball. Players could elbow, throw people down, push them, and don't forget, execute the gravity defying superhuman slam dunks that made the game. People were flying 15 feet, 20 feet in the air, spinning around, doing flips. It was fantasy. It was if Madden was as close to TV football as you could get, NBA Jam was the comic book where you were flipping through with the bright colors, the unlimited turbo, the on fire. And you want to talk about trash talking. You pick your two, I'm taking my two, and let's go to town, man. It was a ton of fun. Legacy, unbelievable. It's going to go on to become one of the biggest games of all time. $1 billion in his first year. People still say he's on fire. People still say heating up, boom shakalaka. Come on, the phrases alone make NBA Jam stand out. And I tell you, if you haven't played it or if you're sitting there going, NBA Jam, I'm telling you, throw that thing on something. There's all these retro consoles out there. Throw on NBA Jam, you won't be disappointed. It still holds up because it's pure entertainment. It's pure arcade fun.
Mike, if I and I agree with you. I'll just say that. So I had two ways I thought of this Mount Rushmore. What are the games I played the most of, like the most time under tension playing them? And NBA is on that four. And for me, it was 2K, just a different iteration of what you're talking about. I absolutely love that game. In fact, the most angry I've ever been playing video games was playing Friends in 2K. I have Smash Controller. I'm full confession. I have that in me. Just so you know, I'm not proud of it. It happened, and that's how passionate I was about 2K. But I wouldn't allow myself to pick two sports games. For me, this Mount Rushmore was my desert island four. So I wanted variety. I wanted a shooter game, I wanted a sports game, and I wanted some other social games and story games in the mix too. I wanted variety. So I actually had 2K in my original list, and I had to take it off because I don't take for granted, Mike, like you do on Thanksgiving week, that these are set in stone. I think deeply and hard about these. But I love the game. I love the pick. I'm jealous that I you have it on your Mount Rushmore and I don't. But end of the day, I just can't sacrifice some of the other ones I had on here. Great game. Um, the iteration of 2K was very different than
hmm
NBA Live or what NBA Jam at the
Jam.
time.
Yep.
It had that more arcade feel versus like these guys are real. You can see the sweat on the video game players. It's so realistic. It's unbelievable. But same basic concept. Got down the court, get a couple dunks in. The game rocked.
Well, it's always fun to play a sports game when you actually kind of get lost in it. And I think that's what the greatest games do that. You can just kind of disappear and escape. It's like reading a great book or watching a really good show or something like that. You just find yourself lost in the entertainment. And but the great thing about video games is you are part of the action to some degree. It's kinetic, right? You get to push at least push the buttons, if not like the Wii where you're actually bowling. Joe, you still have two more picks, so let's hear one of them.
So we were close to sharing, but we are not, as I revealed. My next one is going to surprise people. But for those that know, they know. And again, this is one of those, the sake of variety. And something I played a lot of, not as much as, say, NBA, but I want it to be an option for me on this desert island. And that is Tony Hawk's Underground.
Oh yeah, Thug.
Um, did you play the Tony Hawk franchise at all, Mike?
Oh, of course. I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 was kind of the big thing when I was
Sure.
in college, and I stuck with it for a little while. It was the preeminent skating game. It was much better than games like Skate. But go ahead, Joe. Why'd you pick Tony Hawk's Underground?
And it didn't begin with Underground. It started with Pro Skater in '99. Pro Skater 2 is really what turned it around. But it turned skate culture into mainstream entertainment. Um, but by the time Underground released in 2003, the company that developed it, Neversoft, they wanted to evolve past just parks and high scores and time limits. They wanted a story, a career mode where you weren't just Tony Hawk, you were you. And Underground was revolutionary. You could get off your board and explore the world on foot, which is a theme of things I like in games from Grand Theft Auto. You built a character from scratch, traveling from your hometown to New York to Tampa Pro, all the way to Hawaii and beyond. There was betrayals, rivalry, sponsorships. It felt like skateboarding life, not just skateboarding gameplay. It didn't just let you skate, it let you climb from amateur nobody to pro legend. And it was received pretty well. I mean, critics loved it. Players like myself worshipped it. I played story mode, the same story mode with different people I created several times. And I was never a good skater, and I would never call myself a skater, but I envision myself as a skater. And I have attempted to skate only to find that I'm not good at it and I don't like falling, which to skate you have to do a lot of, as I experienced in the game with no real penalty, and then also in real life with the penalty. But I find it kind of felt like a poser because of that game. I wanted to be something I wasn't. And it created many teenagers attempting to skate, some doing better than others. And it became one of the most iconic entries into the series because it combined addictive skating mechanics with a narrative arc that teenagers ate up like candy. It felt rebellious, aspirational, raw. It was a coming of age journey wrapped in kickflips and punk soundtracks that were awesome, by the way. Man, if Spotify has an underground playlist for those songs, they were awesome. Um, man, I'm craving playing this game right now, Mike, just thinking and talking about it. And then I remember Underground 2, it followed with even more chaos. You had Bam Margera and that jackass energy a part of it. And then it later moved into open world forms with American Wasteland.
Hmm.
That was the last of my era. I don't know what exists today, but that's what I ended with, American Wasteland. And the soundtrack introduced kids like myself to punk, hip hop, and rock like I've never heard before. And then the trick system was awesome, man. The manuals, the reverts, the combos. It turned players into like basically virtual skate scientists. The things I was R2 to L2 to this to that to holding to a certain amount of time. Countless hours I spent trying to land perfect trick chains across entire maps. The theme music blasting, learning to manual like a balance beam ninja. That moment you pulled off a 900 was epic. You
Oh
felt
yeah.
invincible. Tony Hawk games shaped style, music taste, a personality during that era. It was more than a game, it was a subculture we all participated in.
Yeah, I love skateboarding. Well, I don't do it much anymore. I'm too old. But when I was a kid, I skateboarded quite a bit. I loved, Back to the Future and the skateboarding in that movie. And then, of course, you said Tony Hawk and what he was doing in the 80s and 90s, gleaming the cube. I'm glad you said kick flip instead of heel flip. I am a kick flipper 100%. I can sometimes ollie. Not anymore, but when I was a kid, I could do the kickflip, and that was about as far. But that was the great thing about a Tony Hawk game is you threw it on and you could do all of the things you couldn't do right in real life, and you kind of could go into that and go, oh man, this is what I totally would totally be able to do this someday. But you're right, you're gonna fall and you're gonna fall a lot. So I love it. That's a great pick, Joe. Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it's kind of how people felt playing Guitar Hero. Like I could totally play guitar. You hand them a real guitar. No, you can't.
Yeah,
That's how I
Joe.
felt with Tony Hawk. Similar, believed it to be true in the game, and then let's let reality stay reality.
Well, perfect. All right, Joe, I'm going to wrap up with my fourth pick. I'm going back to my roots, man. Nintendo Entertainment System, 1987 specifically, came out in 85 in the States. But this game, 1987, was originally on the arcade, but to me, the version that I prefer and the version that I think is I think this is the best Nintendo Entertainment System game possibly. Super Mario Brothers 3, maybe. This one is my all-time favorite, and that is Contra.
Whoa.
Contra is a tough, hard game, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you're gonna turn it on, you're gonna die, 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 die. Contra actually invents the Konami code. And if you guys know it, and if you do, say it with me, man. Up, up, down, down, left, B, A, B, A. Select start. That gives you 30 lives. And you would think, oh, with 30 lives, I'm going to dominate. Most people still don't get past the third or fourth level with those 30 lives. So it is notoriously brutal Nintendo hard. But I grew up Nintendo hard. Back when games you would play for an hour and then rage quit because of how challenging they are. There's two versions of hard when it comes to video games, in my opinion. There is challenging, and then there is unfair. A lot of games like Ghosts and Goblins are just unfair. They put you in situations you can't get out of. You're going to die, and it almost feels like the luck of the draw, like those claw games at the arcade that sometimes work and sometimes don't.
They're all rigged.
They're all rigged, and that's what I feel with unfair hard games on Nintendo. But there are a few of these titles that are challengingly, brutally hard, but they're fair. If you figure it out, if you're a good gamer, you can go all the way through Contra without losing a life. And I know that from anecdotal evidence. I have spent during the COVID year of being in quarantine, I played Contra nonstop until I beat the game without losing a single life. It is possible, and I tell you what, I enjoyed every minute of it because while it is hard and brutal and challenging, it is fair, and that makes you, when you get good, it's like that moment in Firebirds with Nicolas Cage, I am the greatest. I am the greatest. And I was chanting that as I was playing through the game. I love Contra. To me, it is if you by the way, you're shooting aliens, you're basically Rambo and Schwarzenegger from Commando. You're fighting against the aliens from the movie Alien. You're two shirtless dudes running through jungles shooting at the bad aliens. It is an absolute explosions all over the place, machine guns, spread shotguns. It is just an absolute blast of a video game. I love Contra, and I put it on my all-time replayable list.
I love that you went real old school with
Hmm.
the Nintendo 64. And as you were giving the introduction to your pick, I thought we were going to share this one, but we do not. I have not played Contra. I know very little about Contra. This was an
Oh,
education in Contra, in fact. Obviously, it was before my time, but some games from the 64 are timeless, and I'm fascinated to play it now, but it's not a game I've ever seen.
well, it's old school. I mean, we're talking late, mid to late 80s on the NES. And here's the deal about it. You can probably find it online for free. I'm not going to lie to you, Joe, or anybody that's listening. You're going to try it and be like, I can't wait to play this amazing game. And you're going to find, first of all, it's a lot of fun, but it is frustratingly hard. There is no hand holding. There is no tutorial. There is no warm-up level. You are getting thrown into a full-on firefight from the first moment you push start. So make sure to put that code in to get those extra 29 lives. You're going to need them.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you went back to the 64. And I'm going to close also with a Nintendo 64 game. And this was hard. The last two picks I had were really about storytelling. Is my favorite part of them, right? Is the narrative arc you go on in the free form. And then Madden kind of scratched a little bit of both because you had the opportunity to franchise mode and the competitiveness and the social environment Madden creates, which I love too. My next pick is something I didn't grow up playing as a kid. In fact, it became more popular for me as an adult, mostly in college. And it was something that you had to get yourself mentally ready to play. And it was a social party event game. And that's kind of what this last bucket was. And I thought about other games, but I chose this one, and that is Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, great game.
Classic. Everyone here of all ages knows or have played this game at some point. In the late 90s, the Nintendo developer, I might butcher how his name is pronounced, Masahiro Sakurai, something to that effect.
Yeah.
He had a wild idea. What if Mario could fight Pikachu? Nintendo was hesitant, but a small prototype convinced them that chaos was genius. So in 99, Super Smash Bros. Released on the Nintendo 64. It was unique, fast, funny, chaotic, competitive, immediate classic. No health bars, just percentages. If you hit someone hard enough, they fly off the map. Simple to learn, impossible to master. It changed how multiplayer gaming worked. You had four friends, one TV, everything on the line. And it evolved into a cultural icon of a game. You had Melee, which became one of the most competitive, highly technical fighting games ever, still played today at gaming tournaments. You had Brawl, which came out later. They expanded the roster and added absurd party items. And then Ultimate, which brought every character back, plus more, cementing that Smash is one of the greatest multiplayer games ever created. It dominated multiple generations. I have a memory in college of intense apartment battles, yelling at the last second recoveries, real life beefs. And we identified with the characters. Each one of me and my roommates, everyone was the same person every time. My roommate Austin, he was Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah.
Had Zach as Pikachu, Tom as Samus. Sorry, Falcon. I was always Samus.
Oh yeah.
Occasionally, I throw Mario in there just to element of surprise, but Samus was my guy. Smash was rivalry. It was uh, event. You made it drinking games, whatever you want it to be. Um, the game you could still play today, and it feels like it was made today. It doesn't. It's not about like you play an old version of Madden or NBA. You can tell it's 99. This game doesn't matter what iteration you are. It's the same. It's just newer, better moves and characters, but the graphics, the time, it has evolved. And I thought deep and hard about another social game like Guitar Hero, which I played a lot of and brought people together, but it didn't provide the competitive spirit that I need in my final pick, and that is what Super Smash Bros. Delivers.
I love the pick. Super Smash Brothers is one of those. It's a party game. You can get together with your friends. You can have a great time. It's also for me, Super Smash Brothers is the first time that I really saw like a fantasy video game. Like how fantasy football, you could put a bunch of players that would never play on the same team together, and you can make it happen. That's what Super Smash Bros. Was. All of these characters, Donkey Kong, Mario, Samus from Metroid, Blue Falcon from F-Zero, all of them colliding and then fighting Kirby. All of these games coming together that you go, this is impossible. It was like the Marvel Cinematic Universe of video games before thematic universes was ever a reality. Oh, but the other thing I love about Super Smash Bros. I've got into it admittedly later. My son and the kids of this generation still play this game. This is by far, I would say, the most played game in my house on a regular basis. And what's great about it is anybody can pick it up and play. There's a learning curve that you can get way really good at it, but anybody can come in and button mash and be successful right off the bat. And it's a level playing field almost from the beginning, and that just makes it enjoyable. Even your dad could probably pick it up, and he's asking where the X button is, and his dad just push buttons, you'll win a couple of times. So
That's all it was. Put your elbow on the controller and just rubbed it in circles and just pressed every button as fast as you could, man. And sometimes that worked.
yep, you can win.
And I thought about Mario Kart as well in that vein of like a social epic game, but it just didn't provide the same stimulus. It was a little, yes, there was banana peels to avoid and stuff to shoot at, and it was really fun. But the epic overload of your stimulus for Smash Brothers, for all the elements between hammers coming at you, Pikachu flying balls, and Samus charging up, it was chaos. and competitiveness and trash talking and all the elements you want in a great video game.
Yeah, it's a perfect one to put as the final capper on your picks there, Joe, because it is also it makes me want to just go inside and hey kids, let's throw them some Super Smash Bros. And kind of throw back to that retro, right? Because those all those characters are from the history of Nintendo, and that's what's great, going all the way back to Mario himself.
Yeah, Mike, well that's the nostalgic episode we just kept. Same way we felt hungry after last week's episode, is I have an itch to play every and all games all day. And you might not see me again. I might go in a cave. I'm gonna come out with drinking Mountain Dew and zits and a headset on. I'm gonna look different. I'm gonna evolve here. I, man, I don't know what to start with. I'm scared of what's gonna happen after this, Mike.
So might be get that hit for the first time in a
I
long time,
know.
Joe. So
Well, to close, Black Friday, which is what kicked this whole thing off, used to be about camping in the cold, sprinting through aisles like it was American Ninja Warrior, but now it's all digital deals, online drops. Amazon carts have replaced shopping carts, but gaming still has magic. Kids today will remember the Fortnite skins, the Switch bundles, the VR headsets, the next gen consoles, the way we remember GameStop aisles and the glow of CRT TV at midnight. On our Mount Rushmore, we had some sports, we had some storytelling, we had some shooting, some violence.
mhm.
We had something for everybody. And these four titles for both of us, I feel like shaped who we were and who we thought we could be. So, Mike, the floor is yours. Anything you want to share that makes your four immortal?
The only thing I would say about my four is that you could pick them up right now and play them. And this is probably true for most people. It's nostalgia at its best, right? It's the games we loved when we were kids, and we still love to go back and throw down every now and again. And that competitive spirit, even when I'm in my 40s, comes out a little bit. And it's like, let's go, man. Uh, bring it on.
Man, I love it. Mike, we got to find a way to play each other in something. We got to get it. I don't want to get an Xbox in here, but man, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Because in today's world, we could play online Madden, but it require both of us to put the demon in our household.
Ooh, I think the wife might have some problems with that. But here the thing is, Joe, is we've had our four picks. A couple of them we share, right? But the real question then becomes, what are you going to put on your mountain, right? What would you carve on there? What is your top four video games? Until the next episode, he's Joe Mintz, I'm Mike Mintz, and this is the Mount Rushmore Show.